I tried to be aggressive, but with an open mind to score or play make when I was at my best. But the context is I grew up in an era where a point guard wasn't supposed to shoot 25 times or 20 times.
It's one of the oldest plays in the book, the pick and roll. We've deep dived the evolution of pick and roll before, but there's an entire art to this play that starts at the moment of the screen and ends with a shot or pass. For the slam. And there might be no one better ever at mastering this art than Steve Nash. According to Synergy tracking data, between 2005 and 2012, Nash led the league in points generated from pick and rolls 6 times, while finishing in the top 5 in efficiency every time. Steve was nice enough to sit down and share his process with us, breaking down film primarily from the 2005 Western Conference semis against his former team, Dallas. He's going to talk about the art of setting up the screen, how he developed counters to certain defensive coverages, and finally, how he read and manipulated defenders out of pick and roll.
Guy is a basketball genius on the offensive end. Has no flaws in pick and roll situation. Outstanding passing.
Steve Nash, as fun a basketball player as there is to watch in the game today.
Okay, let's start with you coming down off a make, and you end up getting to a pretty low pick and roll with Amari, like Stockton and Malone era pick and roll height here. Was there a concerted effort to set the screen way inside the 3-point line like that?
So I don't think this was, I think Stockton and Malone, they tried to get to that low open side pick and roll. That was never necessarily a priority for us, but pushing the ball was a priority. So me getting out and trying to see if I had something to get in the gaps and play make before the pick, that was priority. 1, try to go score. But 2, try to go make a play, like go by him. If Amari was 40 feet late here, I might have tried to attack one-on-one. But he's in the picture, and I've set Josh Howard up here in a one-on-one. He feels one-on-one. See how I've created that separation right there? The way I played, I thought this was extremely important. I didn't want my guy to be attached. If I could loosen my man up before I got to the screen where he was arm's length or more, I just had such a big advantage because now I'm isolated on the big. The big has to commit to me.
Or if the big doesn't commit, then you still have all that space you created back at the screen.
Yeah. Even if a guy's on my back, he's attached, the big can take liberties. They can drop with the roller. They can play 2. They don't feel completely isolated on me.
Right. So in that last clip, we saw Bruce Bowen stayed attached, whereas here you really work that hesitation and can walk Josh Howard right into that screen.
So see, I'm isolated now on Damp. Right. So now Amari's got a role, and then Damp can't play the role. He's got to play me. Now I've got both. I could have thrown this to Amari, or I could take my pull-up. So that's all because of this separation with Josh Howard. Right. If Josh is attached to me, he can even if he's behind me, he can funnel me to Damp and pressure the shot, and Damp can play 2 and be effective playing 2. But because I've gotten this little bit of separation, whether it's by that hesitation right there, which wasn't a great one, but the pick second, Damp's either got to commit to me or Amari, and he's stuck in between. And so that bit of separation is everything. And I felt like that allowed me to make simple, easy plays and reads.
Yeah, and you actually move Damp with the ball fake there at the end. But to your point, there's so much space from the setup that Howard's already switched off to Amari. It's amazing how powerful these little setups are because picking off your defenders successfully is what sets you free. And then the entire defense has to react to take away the roll man or obviously you.
And they talk about it when we're in elementary school, set your man up before coming off the pick and roll. But I don't think we really explain to kids why that's such an advantage.
This next one's an incredible example to me because of the patience and how powerful these little adjustments and angles are.
So see, you can see, so basically there, I was just manipulating him because I could have come off here, but he was attached. But I did that little backup hang dribble to threaten that I could go middle.
But basically you're saying because you haven't walked your man into the screen, you aren't just going to come off and go dribble at Dirk.
So like I could come off when Amari first offers the screen here, right? But he's in a good defensive position. So when I see him start to go, I say, nah, I'm not creating any space here. Let me back up. Now he's worried about the middle. So he kind of steps over. And essentially what I'm trying to do is manipulate him to get between Amari's feet. And so as soon as he gets between Amari's feet, I know he's going to get screened. I come off, he goes under, I read the under, and I attack the space he left.
And to me, the next layer here is this third defender sitting in your driving gap, and you just kind of go through him like he's not there.
Yeah. So look, I mean, when I coached in Brooklyn, I wanted our guys in this help position to be up almost where I am. Because like, what's the difference between being where I am and being where he is now? He's dead me. I can get through his arms and legs, and I'm not Kevin Durant. You know, I always had an outlet where Sean is, but when I've committed Dirk here, the way his hips are turned, there's no way you can get back. You can't play your backside. So when his hips have turned one way, he can't make a play on a ball behind him. He tries. It's just, human beings don't have that shoulder mobility. So,
all right, here's one against a dropping big man and a nice pocket pass, and it's a vintage Amari finish.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm more upset at myself on a lot of these clips, even though they're successful, because my setups aren't good enough. I could have done much more. So, like, see, I've let Jason Terry stay attached to me here. Whereas I should have given him an inside out something, get him leaning towards his bench. And to me, it bothers me to this day watching this clip because I didn't set him up well enough. And we still score. I can still make something out of this. And Amari obviously makes a great finish, but percentages matter. And I could have given us a higher percentage opportunity.
Okay, for this one, Dampier doesn't come out quite as high on the screen. And Steve, where did this lefty hook pass come from?
So I did practice this shot. Again, in my mind, though I practiced it because I wanted an out, I wanted a solution in some of these scenarios. I don't love, it's not a great shot. It's a difficult shot with a flying contest. And so I kind of bailed and asked Amari to bail me out by just turning it into a pass here. Again, my problem on this play is that I didn't set Finn up when I could have set him up better and got more separation. And then I could have just pulled up or shot my floater. But I allowed him to stay attached here and kind of is just lazy. Like if I give him a hard hezzy here, he's going to get on his heels and be late, or he's going to drop a foot. But I just kind of settled for a week, just go.
That's all it takes.
Yes.
That's the difference. That minor detail in the setup is the difference between ending up in a sticky spot there or just completely cracking the defense wide open. After Steve walked me through this, I couldn't help but marvel at the advantage he created with this subtle hesitation to set up the screen, even compared to most of the other great pick and roll players in NBA history who focused on setup with their technique. John Stockton might be the most similar, but they often set the screen in a slow, deliberate style, so it didn't always pack the same downhill pressure. So this is technique that isn't about being big or fast, it's just all about timing and playing angles.
Oh, come on. I mean, is this a clinic in ball penetration? Right hand, left hand, take your other, switch hand, nothing fancy.
So Steve, we talked about the screen setup here, but tell me more about developing both hands in these tight spots.
Passing with my left hand, another solution, right? If I take that ball and have to pass it with my right, I've just told everyone in the gym what I'm doing. So for me as a small guard that's not really challenging anyone at the rim or jumping over people, that ball had to get from my left hand to Sean Marion in the corner, or from my left hand over the head to Barbosa, or in the pocket to Amari. If I take time to go with two hands, or I take time to pass with my right, we're not the same team and I'm not the same player. So being able to pass out of my left hand was something that I never said, I got to be able to pass out of my left hand. Just playing pickup basketball as a kid, I said, if I can get this to him out of my left right now, that's a wide open shot. We're staying on the court instead of sitting down for an hour.
And he made that look so easy. One of the best ever in the history of this game, passing off the dribble, either with the right hand or the left hand.
And so you start to develop, necessity is the mother of invention. And so I just developed a left hand because I needed to. I couldn't say, oh, it's all right, I'll just bully him to the basket or I'll jump over him.
We've referenced your hesitation moves a few times. Tell me about this hang dribble technique that you used to use.
But the hang dribble hesitation for me was how I played. Essentially, my way to articulate it is that I was just baiting you to get too close. And if you got too close, I was going by you. And if you didn't, I could do it again to bait you again, or I could pull up and shoot. And so it was a very efficient way for me to not expend a ton of energy, but to get to the spots on the floor I wanted and to kind of put you in jail.
Went right into the post on Amari Stoudemire and used his size.
Here's Nash right by Parker. He'll slither for two.
He keeps your defender off balance. Or just is that deception.
It looks so simple, but it's rhythm. It's kind of dancing, to be honest. Here I am calling myself Fred Astaire, but the reality is that was more my strength than running past people, jumping over them was, I was shifty and fluid and coordinated. And I developed it not necessarily on purpose. It worked for me and I kept going to it without necessarily knowing why. It's like trial and error. And so then I realized when I was good at it with my left hand, I was like, I got to be able to do that with my right hand. It's so effective. So I worked on that, finding that rhythm with the other side. It's a rhythmic move that it's really about changing speeds. The ball, if you notice, is way behind me. So they can't really play on the ball. And if they do make a play on the ball, there's so much time for me to go into that arm. I'm kind of skipping here. So it keeps them at bay. And then when I go to the kind of hip swivel into the hang dribble, I do it because I'm at the 3-point line where I can shoot. And his weight is just shifting towards me slightly because I'm approaching my shooting range. So I know it's like one quick move and I can get that angle. As soon as I've got this angle here, I know I can slither by him. And so because I've recognized Stack is in a deep help position, that's space that I can take.
Okay, so this is a similar version to what we saw earlier, right? With that second layer of the defense where you're basically anticipating the standard play here is to stunt or pretend to help and then recover. So it becomes a chess match at this point where you're asking the defense, are you really going to come and help early? And if they do, you have that kick out pass. So in this scenario here, it's the same thing basically once you drive into all that space.
And if Stack wants to take it away, and in that era, people were starting to not come off the strong corner. I had the corner pass, but I knew he was probably going to stunt. And then you can see the hole behind the defense. There was no one there. We were 5 out here, right? So being able to reject the pick and roll here and just playing one-on-one basketball. So a lot of this is kind of just a feel and innate after playing a million games. But I recognize, look at that space. Damp's up. So I could come off and I could try to go around Damp, but they've got 2 7-footers above the free throw line. So my thought is, let me just get by my defender and in that pocket of space. And if they all collapse, then we've got 3-point shooters everywhere.
I love it. Here's another one that you were way ahead of your time with, these running floaters often off of one leg.
So it's tough to guard. I mean, I didn't create a ton of separation here, but if I pull up here, I'm getting blocked. If I shoot the runner, Mike's 6'6", long arms, and he's not in a bad position, it's just too late. They decided to stay with the roller. I worked on my game and said I need a solution, that I can't stop on 2 feet and pull up when I haven't created the separation. If I create separation, I can pull up all day. But when I recognize he's on my back, I need to shoot this on the move so he can't recover and block this.
Yeah, this has actually become incredibly common in the modern game where we now see these small guards with more space who don't stop in that pocket between the dropping big man and the defender pursuing them, but instead use something on the move like this. So another area where you were way ahead of your time.
Necessity is the mother of invention. And because I knew I couldn't go and try to challenge Damp, and I couldn't pull up and jump 19 feet in the air and pull up over Mike for pursuit, I had to find that pocket of space, which was a horizontal pocket of space, not a vertical pocket of space, right? So I knew if I could develop that shot where I'm still moving forward in the air, just like the fadeaway was great for me once I figured out that there's a pocket there where I could lean back and shoot and get shots off that I couldn't get off if I just went straight up in the air. It's just a way to exploit the space that was given for me in areas where most people thought in that era, there's no space there. You can't shoot off the run. You can't fade away.
Outside comes Nash. Nash gets a screen from Amari. Look at this. He zigs and zags his way in and finds an opening.
So I just really worked on those things as solutions for positions I was getting on the floor that I didn't want to concede.
A lot of those concepts show up in Game 4 of this series, where the Mavs played Nash to score by sending less help in the pick and roll, and he responded with a career-high 48 points.
That's not going to work either. Nash just walks right into the lane. Again, he makes the game look so easy.
So this is from Game 5 after that big scoring game, and it's a different coverage from what we saw last game when they played you to score.
Yeah, you see Dirk and Mike pull over too behind Damp, which was not happening in Game 4. So they obviously are going to try to help put more attention to me, but help on the roller with the weak side. But this is why they didn't want to do that in the prior game, is because once I manipulated the big and forced the weak side to come over, I kind of, could spray the ball around, make my teammates better, and break their defense in a sense.
This is a similar one in the fourth. Same setup with the corner empty. This time it's a pocket pass that springs Amari for free throws.
So this is good. I mean, just typical pick and roll with Amari, just finding that little pocket and then knowing that he's devastating if I can create that path for him. And
it's funny because it looks like a small amount of space, but is this pass almost inviting for you right here?
I mean, that's bread and butter. That's just trying to manipulate them to open that little pocket. If Dirk tries to play the pocket, I'm going by him on the baseline. If he respects the baseline, the pocket's there.
Right. That is basically what we saw before, where Dampier is playing the pocket more. You set him up with that hesitation that gives you the baseline, and you get into the teeth of the defense, and it is all kinds of problems for them. Okay, here's an interesting play that might look bland at first. I wonder what you see here with Jason Terry waiting on the other side of the pick. You reject it this time with the crossover. That collapses the defense, and as you like to say, they're in the blender, so there's no one left to box out. It's an easy putback. But if we go back to the point of the pick and roll, Josh Howard is pushing you toward the sideline in what's called a down coverage.
Yeah, so this looks like to me they went zone. The reason I say that is because who's guarding Sean? Maybe they had a mismatch. But for whatever reason, Josh Howard jumps up. And so I took the down as I realized he didn't have a partner. I think Josh thought a big must be coming to set this screen, and he downed it.
So your defender's thinking there's a big waiting behind me so I can funnel the ball to him.
Yeah, I recognize that he didn't have a big with him. So I let him get in that position. Just kind of accepted it.
Okay, so this is interesting. Last time, this is the same position with the screen defender up at the level of the pick, but that time you reset the screen to manipulate your defender.
Yep.
This time you read the guard is up at the level, so you almost turn your back to see what they're going to do. And then you had another primary counter when that second defender was a little too high on the screener, and then Amari could slip right behind like this, and he was such a good finisher.
I knew his feet, his hands, his speed, power, that's a force. So if I just got off the pick and roll, I can make something of it because of his brilliance. I always loved the easy, making it really easy.
Let's take a look at a few more where you're deep in the paint. And unlike most players who would drive to score or drive and kick in these situations, you were often getting downhill and passing in really tight quarters on the interior, often with a role partner like this.
Yeah, look, Amari's coming down at pace. We know the threat he is. I think they know I have a variety of shots. It puts Damp in a really difficult position. So his brain is on overdrive, right? I know that. His brain is on overdrive because the possibilities are endless.
So to be clear for people, when you're in that 2-on-1 spot against the big defender has to worry first about you pulling up and shooting in that pocket yourself. Second, if you attack him hard and take it all the way to the cup. And then third, he's back in this position where you could access Amari with the pass like this. So yeah, it's a tough spot.
I know that he's not going to be able to find this pass. So yeah, I think first thing first here, I should have committed to pulling up here, and it's a foul on Josh Howard. But I kind of chickened out thinking I wouldn't get the call, and I floated forward. And so when I did that, I looked for Sean, and I didn't love it. But because I knew they all saw me turn my chest and eyes to LB and Sean, I knew I could just drop this to Amari, and it'd be too late to process for him to get I don't know. You like it. I call that a pretty average. Yeah.
Well, they don't all work, but it's this creativity and willingness to try all sorts of stuff like this on the interior that really fascinates me.
So if I were coaching myself or a kid who made this play, I would say, one, just pull up and let him run you over because he's playing you too tight. That's 2 free throws. Otherwise, stop, keep your dribble alive. He's on your back. He's got to drop with Amari. I've created a 2-on-1, 3-on-2, 4-on-3. But instead, I kind of choose this in between, chickened out on the pull up and foul. And so I left my feet. I always felt comfortable leaving my feet. It's not obviously what you want or what's taught, but I always felt comfortable improvising out of the air. So I had the confidence to do that, but this was the last resort and a stupid decision, really. But it goes to your point though, right? Like they're not all perfect, but like the constant pressure is the key.
And right on cue, how did you do that? That's absurd.
So there's just I know there's a lot of pressure. I've beat both Damp and Daryl Armstrong, so I know Dirk's got to come. The disadvantage for Dirk is he's still got to come and stop me. So he really can't make a play on Amari and me, at least if I'm slick with it, right? If I'm obvious, yeah, he can take it away. But by waiting for the last minute where he now thinks he's got me under the basket and he bails out. As soon as I see his hips turn, I know Amari's open.
So if I'm hearing you, you know Amari's the best option here, but you don't ever want to tip your hand to the defense.
Yeah. So essentially, look, if you just run it back 2 steps, there's no window here, right? Dirk's there. Like that pass he's taking. I know I've got to draw him to me here. So that's why I keep one more hard dribble. Now he turns, and now there's the space I need. So I'm not in my mind going, wait till he turns his hip, and then in my mind, I feel it. Your sense as a player, you feel like, okay, there's no space. Let me draw that space. And that space is by getting him leaning towards something else, and it opens up.
The only thing that really works against Elton Brand, Steve Nash, is too easy down the lane.
Yeah, it definitely is more of a feel than I had all these words for it in the moment, if that makes sense.
Of course, yeah. That's all I got.
All right.
That was amazing.
I hope it was worth it.
I think the most amazing part of all this is how so many subtle, unnoticed techniques create these massive advantages. Moving your own defender into the screen is an art. It's an art that starts with understanding where all the players are and then using that hesitation dribble to rock and push defenders around, forcing the defense to pick their poison, drive and read the help defenders' body positions and coverages to puncture defenses deep in the paint. When you're in sticky situations, use counters like the fadeaway or the floater, and of course, crank open defensive windows in the last layer of the defense without ever tipping your hand. That is why Steve Nash won 2 MVPs, made 7 All-NBA teams, and was the master of the pick and roll. You can get Thinking Basketball content in the NBA app throughout the season, and if you want more right now, check out the Thinking Basketball channel on YouTube.